You could probably share that. I'm sure with electricity.
Hello everybody, we all nice and good to go? Yeah. Welcome everybody to today's Sorell Planning Authority meeting, the 3rd of June 2025. Do we have any apologies? Anybody for Councillor Meredith's the group? Yeah. Confirmation of the minutes of the 6th of May 2025. Recommendation that the minutes of the Sorell Planning Authority meeting held on 6th of May 2025 be confirmed. Can I have a mover, please? Councillor Nichols and Councillor Larkins to second. All those in favour? Unanimous, thank you very much. Any declarations of pecuniary interest? No? No? In considering the following land use planning matters, the Sorell Planning Authority intends to act as a planning authority under the Land Use Planning and Approvals Act 1993. First item for consideration, item 5 on page 2, 5.1, is a 13-lot subdivision at 1668 Arthur Highway, Copping. The recommendation for refusal is there before us. Can I have someone to move this? Councillor Tronius, someone second. Councillor Nichols, thank you. Open for discussion or questions. Okay. Councillor Reid.
Thank you. I just appreciate perhaps a summary of the reasons, particularly in terms of the unduly expensive road maintenance and how that recommendation came together.
Through the Mayor. So, just to begin with, it would be a cause that the planning authority would be generally unfamiliar with, as traditionally, or for at least for sort of the past 10 or so years of the interim scheme, or in the state scheme, log bump provisions of the Local Government Building and Miscellaneous Provisions Act have been overridden by planning scheme controls. So when we had an interim scheme, the rural zone had a road standard, and that was what we considered. The current planning scheme has no road standard, and in the absence of a road standard, we default back to the Local Government Building Miscellaneous Provisions Act, and rural subdivisions involving new roads are fairly uncommon as well. So the provision in the Local Government Building Miscellaneous Provisions Act does specifically have regard to the cost of infrastructure provision associated with a proposed subdivision. In this particular case, there's a 3.5 kilometre road providing access to a relatively small number of lots. The advice from Council's asset management engineers is that the cost, the annual cost per kilometre, depreciation cost per kilometre is in the order of 10,000 per annum, which for the length of road and a small number of lots just won't be recouped by rate revenue should it proceed. So it would. This development would effectively require us long-term maintenance costs will be borne by the broader community as the rate payers. And in my view, there's no particular benefit to council in establishing new roads on that basis. So the recommendation is mainly related to the annual maintenance cost to council, which we incur through the cash funding of the depreciation.
So through the mayor, you note here that the tribunal says that in broad terms we have to uphold its planning scheme and decline to everything in terms of the scheme. That doesn't give councils much real ground, does it?
Through the mayor, no, as a planning authority, no, there's not a lot of discretion unless you are acting under a discretion provided by planning scheme, or in this case, a statute.
So it's take completely.
Any further, Councillor Campbell?
Thank you. Through the mayor, Shane, in relation to the landscape, is it just purely that there's not enough usable area on the properties for building, or is what's the?
No, through the mayor, in this case, so the application does include a landscape report. It's not by a super qualified person, and it doesn't go to the normal lengths that a landscape report would go to. It's fairly cursory assessment, which so the performance criteria does require the plan for a couple of regard to a landscape hazard report, which is in turn prepared by a super qualified person, so they don't meet that test.
Okay.
Any further questions? No? Okay, can I put this to the vote then, please? Recommendation that the application be refused for the 2 reasons listed in those recommendations, that maybe the road and the landslip hazard area as well. So all those in favour of the recommendation, please show hands. Unanimous, thank you very much. On to page 27, 5.2. The Greater Hobart Bus Network Review. Recommendation being that the council endorse the general manager to provide a submission that includes the matters outlined in the future needs section of this report. Can I move, please, Councillor Reid and Councillor Larkins to second? I think we have, this is an opportunity for us to support the general manager to provide a positive submission that's been highlighted multiple times by multiple consultations, that any improvement in transport, the transport network would be desirable. So would anybody like to talk on this, or Gia?
No, just so it's credit investigator Shane who prepared this, despite giving me an opportunity to comment prior to him getting the agenda out, he prepared the submission himself. So, as you say, man, it's something we've been agitating, I shouldn't say agitating, something we've been advocating for the best part of 10 years. So, no, there's certainly no objection to what he's prepared.
Councillor Reid, did you have a comment?
Thank you. I was very pleased to see this proposal, and as a council to contribute to the opportunity that the review provides. As it's central to improving opportunity across the municipality, opportunities for participation. Just a couple of questions. Page 29, early in the report, there's mention of current trust services to the Sorell area, talking about Kinetic, Area Connect and school services. I was wondering, is Tassie Link, although that's a peninsula, service aimed at the peninsula, it does come through and stop in Sorell, would that be relevant to include as well? Just a thought there. And there was something else. Also feedback from members of the public over several years about council advocating for better bus services to the airport to and from the Sorell district. As my understanding is they currently don't actually stop at a convenient place so that people can access the airport, but are instead concerned with Cambridge as a business zone rather than the airport, whereas a lot of people would be quite happy to catch a bus to the airport and back. So that's another suggestion that we might include. And the third thing was some strategic work done by the RACT some years ago, which recommended, surprisingly for an automobile organisation, recommended a significant state investment in improving public transport before any further strategic consideration of traffic and roadways. So that might be worth considering and for our local situation as well, and might might be something that can support our submission. So comments really rather than questions, and I'll leave it at that. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'd like to hear a little bit of history on the buses. We almost got metro down here many years ago. Mr. Reid used to run the bus through to Douglas Ferry for many years. He had one eye, and the stories that the kids used to tell about this fellow, it was horrendous, quite horrendous. When he finally retired, they couldn't find a buyer for the buses. I think he had two. And so the whole place was in limbo. And then out of the blue came Smith, and I can't remember his first name, but it was he then purchased the buses and improved the buses, got a couple of new ones, but I think he was subsidised by the government, and I think they still are. They've got some private buses. But yeah, we almost got metro down here because there was no one to carry on the service. So yeah, and then I think everyone was very disappointed when Mr. Smith came in and purchased two vehicles. Bit of history.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank
good.
you. It's nice to fill in the gaps. Any further questions? No. All those in favour of this recommendation then, please? Unanimous. Thank you very much. Page 33, item 5.3. Planning scheme amendment. Primrose Sands Road, Primrose Sands, adjacent to the community centre at 570 Primrose Road. Can I have please, Councillor Larkins and Councillor Reid second? Thank you. The recommendation is there before you. Can I open the floor to them?
I think it's a good move.
I think it's a very good move too. We have spoken about this at length, and I really like it when the developers coordinate with the council to get the right outcome for community and all, really. So,
Through the mayor, this is just the first step,
to
basically.
the rezoning.
Yeah,
Yeah.
rezoning.
So, anything further, Councillor Reid?
Thank you. Through the mayor, just a clarification of the remaining section of the lot, so of that title. What's the zoning of that? Is it likely to stay that way, I suppose, is the question.
Through the mayor, it's rural living D zone, which is doesn't allow for subdivision. doesn't allow for too much, other than a single dwelling. So there's no change, to that zone, as part of this process.
Thank you.
Anything further? All those in favour of approving the recommendation? Unanimous, thank you very much. I have lost my next page. Right, on page 62, item 5.4, a minor amendment request for a 16-lot subdivision at Valleyfield Road. Minor amendment to reduce the public open space contribution on a 16-lot subdivision. Can I have somebody to, Councillor Larkins and Councillor Reynolds, thank you. Can I open this to the floor, please? Any questions on this one? Councillor Reid.
When it comes to public open space, the proximity to, what's the consideration around proximity? Because as we've discussed with subdivisions at Orielton and elsewhere, and I believe is in the public open space strategy, particularly regarding those slightly outlying areas, residents of those areas and development of those areas use public open space facilities in Sorell and surrounds, not necessarily precisely at the location of the subdivision. I'm just reflecting on what that then means, so I appreciate the, I guess, a summary of how that was considered in this report.
Through the mayor. So yeah, certainly any subdivision in any location will increase demand on open space, and we have a range of different asset types, including regional facilities like Southeast Stadium, all our various walking tracks and linear open space linkages, and obviously the more traditional, more widely understood, just common playground and park. So our public open space contributions policy would suggest that as every development increases demand on the underlying, on the larger regional facilities, there should always be a contribution towards those. It offers where the exercise of discretion, I guess, in that policy is the further you, if you're not within a walking distance of an open space site, you may be less likely to use it or less likely to use it as often. So traditionally, we, serviced township, we apply 5%, and generally reduce it for development that's located further from our playgrounds and walk parks in walking distance. Although each locality is a little bit different, certainly in the past at Orielton, subdivisions there have always been imposed at a 5% rate, because our open space strategy has a specific provision in there to look at providing a public open space asset in Orielton. In this location, there's no recommendations to provide anything in the locality. So we know that the any future residents here will use what's in Sorell. But given they're fairly large blocks and they're not within walking distance of the town, the demand on assets overall is less than a general residential subdivision.
Through the chair, though, in conversations with the proponent, that was what he was saying, was that because of the size of the blocks, sort of got built-in public, or built-in open space, not necessarily public, but built-in open space in their own blocks. So that was the reason for the request to lower the public open space contribution.
Through the mayor, I think to Shannon's interpretation is very sensible.
Yes.
You wonder out loud though, don't you, whether in some sense we need to be wary of open space policy because it can represent a tax on new homeowners in the end, because that cost can be passed on, isn't it?
Yeah.
And there's a shortage of houses in Tasmania, we should probably encourage an ease of the transition from renting or homelessness to having a roof over your head, I guess.
Yes.
In the public open space policy, does it say up to 5%?
Yes, yeah, 5% is a legislative max.
Oh,
Can't go above that.
yeah,
But the policy allows us to vary below.
yeah, okay, good, thank you.
And the applicant was asking for 2.5, was it?
Yeah.
2.5, 3 we've done a lot, from memory, a lot of, 3%, so.
If there's nothing further, all those in favour of this recommendation, please. Unanimous. Oh, no.
Against.
Not against. Thank you. So that brings us to the close of the planning meeting at 4:55. Thank you very much, folks.
Vicky went to pass it down.